It was supposed to be a quiet return flight. Just another late-night journey from Los Angeles to Seoul after weeks of intense studio work. But what happened 35,000 feet in the air between rows of sleeping passengers became one of the most talked about, heartbreaking, and emotional moments in BTS history. What made Taehyung cry in pain? Why did Jungkook suddenly look pale and panicked in front of the flight attendants? And what is the truth behind the nosebleed that left armies worldwide frozen in disbelief? Did anyone expect that one of the brightest, most radiant members of BTS would suddenly collapse into tears mid-flight? Who could have imagined that it would be Jungkook, his best friend, his bandmate, who would hold him in his arms when the world tilted sideways for Taehyung? The scene was quiet at first. Most of the cabin lights were dimmed, the air was filled with the faint hum of the plane engine, and the BTS members seated in business class were finally getting a moment to breathe after long nights of rehearsals and back-to-back meetings in Los Angeles. It was supposed to be their moment of rest, a brief pause before diving back into the chaos of their upcoming album promotions. But something changed in an instant. Something no one was prepared for. A soft groan. A sudden shift. Then a hand, Taehyung's hand, clutching at his face. A whisper that turned into a gasp. "Hyung!" That voice, barely audible, almost frightened, came from Jungkook. And what he saw next shattered every piece of composure he had. Blood. Real blood. A thin stream tracing from Taehyung's nose down to his lips, trembling. But that wasn't what struck Jungkook the hardest. It was the tears. Silent, painful tears that ran down Taehyung's cheeks, mixing with the blood. And his expression, one that Jungkook said later, looked like he was hurting more than he was bleeding. Was this just exhaustion? Or was there something more? Something the fans didn't know yet. What happened next was nothing short of heartbreaking. Without thinking, Jungkook reached for Taehyung, pulling him close, supporting his head against his chest. Taehyung didn't resist. He didn't say a word. He just let himself collapse into Jungkook's lap like a fragile figure who had been holding on for too long. Was this the moment everything cracked? Flight attendants rushed over. Namjoon and Jimin stood up in alarm. Jin's face turned white. Hobi whispered something, gripping the edge of his seat. But Jungkook didn't move. He just kept whispering to Taehyung, brushing his hair away from his forehead, trying to calm him, and then the words escaped Jungkook's mouth that stunned even the crew. "He's been pushing too hard. He didn't sleep for 3 nights. He just wanted the album to be perfect." Why was Taehyung hiding this pain? Why didn't he tell anyone he wasn't feeling well? Why did he keep going, recording vocals, dancing, writing lyrics, ignoring the dizziness, the fatigue, the headaches? Could it be that the price of perfection was too high? And what was the breaking point? Was it the final dance rehearsal in LA where Taehyung reportedly skipped dinner? Or the 6-hour vocal session where he stayed behind after everyone left, insisting he could do better? Or was it simply the quiet accumulation of sleepless nights and unspoken pressure? Armies, you might think you know what happened, but this is just the beginning. What no one expected was what Taehyung said next, voice shaking, tears still falling, his body still trembling in Jungkook's arms. "I thought I could handle it, but I can't feel my face." That sentence chilled everyone to the bone. What did he mean? Was this a neurological reaction to stress? Was something happening to his body that they weren't aware of? Jungkook's hand flew to the call button again. This time, the urgency in his voice was unmistakable. He needs help, right now. The plane's medical team rushed in. Ice packs, tissues, oxygen, vitals were checked. But all the while, Taehyung didn't leave Jungkook's lap. It was as if that one space, that one person, was the only place he felt safe. And then another shock. A message buzzed in the group chat. It was Yoongi, who had stayed back in LA to work on mixing. The message simply read, "Is Tae okay? I had a bad dream." How could Yoongi have known? Was this one of those eerie BTS moments when the bond between them runs deeper than words or distance? But let's pause, because here's the real question. What drove Taehyung to this point of collapse? Why did he keep smiling on camera while crying in pain off-screen? And what does this say about the silent struggles artists face, especially those who feel responsible not only for their art, but for the millions who love them? This flight incident wasn't just a medical emergency. It was a window into the pressure cooker BTS has been living in as they prepare their most anticipated comeback yet. And that's only the first hour of the flight. Would you like me to continue this full 8,000+ word article from here? I'll continue with everything: emotional statements, deeper backstories from Los Angeles, exclusive ARMY reactions, Jungkook's personal reflection, and the surprising twist about Taehyung's health revealed after the flight. The clock ticks slowly inside the cabin. Taehyung's soft sobs were barely audible now, muffled against Jungkook's chest. His fingers twitched, then clenched weakly into the fabric of Jungkook's hoodie, as though trying to anchor himself to the only stability left in a spinning world. Jungkook held him tighter. For once, the golden magnate didn't care who was watching. He didn't care about cameras. He didn't care about pride. His Hyung was in pain, and that's all that mattered. Outside the window, stars shimmered over a dark ocean. Inside the plane, silence fell like a blanket over the stunned members. And then Jimin stood up. Eyes glassy, lips trembling, he crossed the aisle and knelt beside Taehyung. He reached out and gently placed his hand on Tae's wrist. "You didn't tell us," he whispered. "Why didn't you tell us?" Taehyung's only reply was a shallow breath and another tear. The bond between them was always unshakable, but in that moment it fractured in silence. Not because of anger, but because of worry, guilt, grief. The kind of heartbreak you feel when someone you love suffers quietly. Smiling to hide the agony, Namjoon, ever the leader, was already speaking to the flight staff in hushed tones, arranging for a medical team to be ready the moment they landed in Seoul. But even he looked shaken. The weight of responsibility was etched into his face. His fingers curled tightly around his phone. Jin, always the steady eldest, stared blankly at Taehyung's pale face, whispering to Hoseok, "I told him he needed rest." He just smiled and said, "Hyung, this is nothing compared to what ARMY deserves." And that, right there, was the truth none of them wanted to face. Taehyung hadn't just pushed himself too hard. He had done it for the fans, for the love of music, for the dream that BTS has carried on their backs for over a decade. But how much can one person carry before they break? Let's rewind. 2 days before the flight, Los Angeles, California. The studio lights had long been turned off. Everyone else had gone back to the hotel, but Taehyung was still there. According to an anonymous staff member, Taehyung had insisted on re-recording the bridge of one of the title tracks. He said he wanted it to sound like pain wrapped in beauty. He kept doing take after take, ignoring the hoarseness in his throat, the ache behind his eyes. He refused to sit, the staff member shared. Even after we told him his nose looked red and irritated, he said, "One more take. I can give more." The staff finally persuaded him to stop around 2:40 a.m., but by then, he had already pushed himself beyond the line of safety. It wasn't just that one night. The signs had been there for weeks. Jungkook, during a candid off-camera moment recorded by a behind-the-scenes team, was seen whispering to Taehyung at the airport, "Don't skip meals again, Hyung. Please." Taehyung had only grinned, pulling his hoodie tighter around his face. "I'm fine, Kook. Just a little tired." A little tired. 3 days without sleep. Endless vocal sessions. Dance rehearsals until his legs gave out. And still he smiled. Still he posted photos with captions like, "Happy to be working hard for you. ARMY Purple Heart." But no one saw what was happening underneath. Back on the plane, as medics checked Taehyung's vitals and asked him questions, he remained silent. He just kept clutching Jungkook's sleeve. Until suddenly he spoke again. "I couldn't let them down." "Who, Tae?" Jungkook asked gently. He opened his eyes, red-rimmed and glassy. "ARMY. You." A single word left Jungkook's lips, so soft, so cracked, so unlike his usual voice. "Hyung." This moment wasn't just a health scare. It was a cry for help buried in a song, a dance, a schedule, 1,000 smiles. And then came the second wave of emotion, when Taehyung's phone buzzed again. A message from his mother. Just 5 words.